What's up, guys? It is Rick Ginn here with Flip with Rick. We're doing a little bit of a change today. So normally Zach does Thursday lives. I do Friday. We've switched. So thought we'd just change it up a little bit. And today's topic is all about wholesaling vacant lots. And I'm just going to break it down for you. It's actually, when it comes to wholesaling, doing vacant lots is the absolute easiest way to do a real estate deal, because to be honest with you, there's just not a lot of mechanics to it. So what I want to do is take the first 15 minutes or so. If you guys could just make sure as you're getting on here, we have a good connection. I'm going to walk you through the basics, and then we'll open it up to a Q&A. And the Q&A, obviously, any type of vacant land, I would love to help anybody out while we're on the topic. But if you have any other questions while we're on it, let's talk about it. That's the beauty of these live. I have a lot of you guys that message me, myself, and Zach. I guess it's two people. And I always say, jump on these live streams to take full advantage. I mean, you have a mastermind at your fingertips, 19 years experience, Zach 4 years, and we hold nothing back, and we don't ever charge you a fee. It's all organic. I never hit you with ads or anything. So guys, take advantage of it. I don't have a hidden agenda for you. All I want to do is help as many people as humanly possibly be successful $100,000 plus wholesalers and show you the light. And then the rest, you'll want to work with me for the rest of your life. So awesome. I see it looks like everybody can hear me. So let's get into it. So what I'm going to do is I put a couple notes on the screen so you can take highlight points on it, and we'll just walk through my bullet points here. And remember, this is just a crash course. I've done lots of vacant land. I love vacant land. To be honest with you, I did vacant land after I started flipping homes, and I actually wish I kind of did it the opposite way, because it would have been easier. So let's talk about it. What is the difference between sorry about that, vacant land and houses? And I'm here to tell you, a house is on top of a piece of land. So you have land, and then you have a house. We take the house off it, you have the land, that's it. Don't complicate it. That's as simplistic as I can get it for you. So in theory, it's easier to price, it's easier to sell. The financing's middle to none unless you want to give it. And it's that simple. You're just wholesaling without the house on it. Now, the advantage of why you want to add vacant lands to your list is because it's the exact same mechanics. It's just easier. Now, full disclosure, with the uptick we've had in our market for the last 11 years, guys, this isn't like a 2 or 3 year running. And most gurus they'll let you think that they've figured everything out. They've never been through a down market cycle. I've been through multiple of them. So 19 years, you get it. So is it harder to sell vacant land and flip it? Yeah, it's more challenging, but so are houses. But it doesn't matter. If you do it the wholesaling method, you still find deals. You got to work a little bit harder, but the reward at the end is amazing. So just like in life, when things are harder, the payoff is greater. If it was really easy, you probably wouldn't make a lot of money, and everybody, either people wouldn't pay attention or wouldn't do it. So understand, number one, the mechanics in wholesaling vacant homes and houses, exactly the same. Vacant land actually just goes faster. I've done a vacant land deal in 3 days from start to finish. It's that easy because there's very few obstacles to overcome. It's really just you and the seller in raw format without all the intricacies of what a house brings in, inspections, appraisals, all that fun stuff. So if you understand it's the exact same mechanics, the only different mechanic you're going to have other than the physical aspect is when we buy houses, we're looking for distressed property. When I'm going to buy vacant land, I don't care. I repeat, I don't care if you're distressed in vacant land. If the numbers work, I buy it. The only time you have a distressed vacant land is if they come up on a tax delinquency list. And that means if they don't pay the taxes due, usually after 2 years, but depending on where you are, it could be up to 5, is they can actually lose that property in a foreclosure sale auction. And they get a little distressed on that because the bills. So some properties, when wasn't as hot as it was, the tax value sometimes would exceed the value of the property and people would let it go all the time. And then I used to just go to the tax deed auctions and I would buy in there. Now, that doesn't work as well anymore, obviously, in this market. So don't worry about the distress part, because remember, they're not living on the land. 9 times out of 10, maybe they're just mowing it. But for a lot of these lots, they just let them overgrown. So take like Port St. Lucie, the market I'm in. You can own a vacant lot and let it grow 30 feet high, and the city doesn't say a word about it. So if you're looking for a distressed vacant land seller, unless it's financial and they need money for something in their personal life, you're going to remove that aspect. So that's the only difference on it. So let's jump into, how do we market for vacant land? Once again, you're going to hear a residing theme here. It's still very, very similar. You're going to pull a list. Simple as that. You're going to pull a list. Now we're going to get into what are the best lists a little bit down here, so I'm not skipping it over. But you come up with your target prospect list. Very simple to do. And what you're going to do is I teach you how to reverse engineer. Now in vacant land, it's even more important that you reverse engineer your deals. So how do I reverse engineer it? Well, first, you have to start off on where the transactions are happening, and you have to do your research on that. So if you guys have never done that before, I always recommend you start in your own backyard. It's the easiest way because number one, you know it. And number two, you're familiar with the streets and everything that goes on. You guys agree, in the United States, a lot of our real estate is street to street. This street can be awesome. This street, nobody wants to touch. The same thing in vacant land. So first thing you do is start in your backyard, and you're going to pull a list. How do I pull a list? Go to listrei.com. It's the easiest way. It's included in your membership. If you don't have one, you get a 7-day free trial version, listrei.com. And I'm not going to go through a million screen shares on this. I'll shoot a separate video on it. And you're just looking for vacant land owners. By the way, you have a lot of other resources to pull them from. You can actually go to your county tax records. It's a little bit more complex, but you're going to do the same thing as house. You're going to pull your list, vacant land owners, and you're going to get a list, and then you're going to narrow down your search. Now, if you don't want to buy lots near the ocean, filter them off your list. So buy in the neighborhood you want to do business in. How do you do that? Reverse engineer. Find out where people are buying these lots on. And it's at listrei.com, the whole thing points it out for. It's actually really good. Now, I'm telling you to start in your own backyard. Those of you who like to do it virtual, or maybe you grew up in Texas and you moved to Alabama and you're very familiar with Texas. That's a perfect way to start out virtual marketing. Or maybe you have a buddy that can help you out understanding the streets, or maybe even do some physical looking for you. That's a great way to do it. I always find it just easier. You guys, sometimes we complicate it. If you just do stuff in your own backyard, it's easier. I mean, that's it. So I always want to find out where the activity is. Never be buying somewhere where you can't sell it. So rule number one in vacant land flipping is, unless you have a personal hobby in buying land and holding it for yourself and like building your own house on it, don't do it. So these are really easy. They're assignable just like regular homes. Don't complicate it. So you want to get your marketing list and get everything ready. And we're going to go into where to find good vacant land deals. So I've already kind of let the cat out of the bag on it. I always start in my backyard. Guys, like, I like to be within an hour of where I do land, and maybe you set it for a maximum of 2 hours. So I'm in Florida. I pretty much do all of South Florida. Little secret, there ain't much land left here, but I know areas where there's land because I'm very active in my market. Now, do I do deals in virtual? Yeah, I do, but I find most of those by accident on a lot next to a house I'm buying, and that's how I'm buying in a virtual market. So because you have to know your market before you buy. So we know everybody needs houses in good, safe neighborhoods, and we provide that service in wholesaling. Remember, in vacant land, who's your target buyer? Your target buyer is going to be someone who wants to build a home for spec. What does that mean? It means it is an investor who likes to put all his chips on the table, build a new house, wait 7 to 12 months to build a new house on it and put it on the market. And he or she knows they're taking a gamble of what the final outcome is. Now, I would never start out that strategy at the beginning. And to be honest with you, I'm not a fan of that strategy, but there's people who make an entire living doing that. They're prepared for it. They've set up the financing for it, and they know the calculated risk. I don't want you to do that. I want you to sell to these people. Other people you can sell to is somebody looking to build their own house, like their dream house. They'll pay you tippy top dollar. I will tell you who you don't want to work with are big time developers. They're a nightmare. They're going to beat you up and they're going to run you around circles on it. But we'll go into that a little bit further on it. So the best place to find vacant land deals is where there's a high amount of activity level and in a close proximity to where you live. I know virtual sounds sexy. Oh, Rick, the grass is greener on the other side. I'm telling you, if you don't know that market, you have a lot of pitfalls you got to get through. And I'd rather see you be successful first and do your first deals locally. And then you can go out, you can either partner up with someone or find a virtual market you have experience in, meaning you've lived there. I don't know, maybe you went to college outside that town, you know a little bit better, but it does take a while to learn and identify any type of market. So good ones you want to pay attention to are what we call infill lots. Infill lots are simply mature neighborhoods that have vacant lots. So you got a nice house here, you got a vacant lot here, and then you got a nice house here. I mean, they've already done all the groundwork for you. You got people buying in those neighborhoods. You have established comps, and it's really easy. Anytime you can get an infill lot, get it. The question is, you have to decide what the market's going to pay for it. So until you establish what the going rate for land is, you have to do that first. That's why I'm teaching you to reverse engineer. Find out what they pay for them. How do I find out? Go to listrei.com, pull up the 4 sold comps, vacant land. You can reverse engineer it. You could also reverse engineer vacant land that turns to residential under 1 year. Remember, that type of buyer is not a typical homeowner. Nobody buys a house. Nobody buys a lot to build a house on it to sell it a year later. Most homeowners keep it a minimum of 5 years. So you can do your search under 18 months, under 15 months. Usually got to go a little bit past the year because by the time they get permitting and get everything done and put it on the market, a lot of times it's past that 12-month period. So if it shows they bought a lot for, say, $50,000 and they're selling an end product of $400,000, that means it was $350 to build the house and the lot was $50. So if you can pick up that lot at like $35 or even $40, and guys, I'm not setting a number in your head. If you can pick it up 20, knock yourself out. There are no rules when buying vacant land. You're better off making an insulting offer on vacant land than you are on a house. Take my word for this one. So infill lots are awesome. And the beautiful thing about infill lots, they're easy to find when you do driving for dollars. You find one, take a picture. Sometimes you have to reverse the engineer the address between this house and that house, and you can easily figure it out. And then you're going to want to contact that person because you already know that someone will build a house on that one. So that's the first one I would do. Let's go to the next one. Oh, here's my favorite. Hey, Rick, what are the best lists for buying vacant land properties? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, the absolute best. It's really simple. Just pull up a tax roll of all the vacant lots in the particular area you want to farm. When I say farm, this is an area that you want to work and you know there's transactions and there's a business here. So if what I like to do is it's not even zip code, guys. You got to break it down to neighborhoods. So I like to do it block by block. So a lot of times in the county records, a neighborhood will have it'll have a legal description. It might say like, what's it like? South Segway Block 2. And every house in that neighborhood will have that designation there. You can search properties just by that. If you use listrei.com, you can actually use the map grid and you can encircle an area if you know the street outlying areas. I love to do that. It works really, really well. Now, if you do too small of a geographic area, it's hard to get the numbers. So you usually want to branch out and find. But instead of doing like you do in vacant houses where you pick, not vacant houses, when you just do any type of house flipping, say you pick an entire zip code or even a city, when you do vacant properties, you really want to kind of go block by block. So I have never pulled an entire county for vacants. It's like you will get a ton of traffic, a ton of phone calls, no matter what method you pick. But you got to understand, a lot of those lots you don't want. A lot of them you don't want. So I don't want to waste time talking to sellers of lots that aren't even buildable or have other problems with them. So the best list, always remember, motivation on a vacant piece of land, in my opinion, is irrelevant. The only thing that can push someone to sell really fast is if they have a financial problem or they're paying more in taxes than they think the property's worth. That's the only time where I said, a lot of times they call, they go, hey, you want to buy it? Just, make me an offer and let's move on. It's not complicated. It's really, really simple. So a lot of times, just like regular houses, they're either in the mood to sell or they're not. A lot of times it's a numbers game. But remember, when you connect with that seller that wants to sell that vacant property, it's a very, very fast transaction. You don't have to inspect it. You don't have to finance it. All you have to do is put a contract together and find another buyer to take over your contract and take it to the closing table. It's that simple. There's no inspections. There's no appraisals. There's no banks involved. If there's taxes due, it's paid on the settlement statement. So it's really, really simple. That's why I love vacant land. And a lot of times I overlook deals. I look back in my first 10 years, I could have built my entire flipping model just off flipping land in my local market. And imagine if you put in 2 or 3 other virtual markets in it. Oh my God, guys. So I want you to expand yourself. You guys are wholesalers. In reality, you can wholesale anything you want. But if you're already wholesaling and you're committed to doing houses, why not add vacant lands to your repertoire? So let me get through my list here because I want to get to the questions. So go ahead and start pounding in your questions here. This is a lot of things I get. What is the best marketing channel for vacant land? And I'm going to go in my personal preference order of what I've seen success in my business and people I've worked with. So number one, hands down, cold calling. It's the fastest way. I don't know. With cold calling, it just connects on vacant land. It's really fast. You don't have to wait for mail to come in. People kind of make quick decisions. It's not a complicated calculation. 9 times out of 10, when you make an offer, it's yes or no. And a lot of times when you're cold calling, you can get this transaction done in 1, if not 2 phone calls. Houses, that's a rare commodity to have that happen. So that's my most important. Number 2, texting. Obviously, texting works wonderfully, but you got another layer. Why I like texting is it's scalable, it's fast, and you can implement it in any market. And say you want to do a geographic area and you want to sort through it backwards, meaning you're going to get people calling you don't necessarily want their land. That's okay if you have a system that's set up to filter through those leads. So if you guys want to utilize any of the cold calling strategies, remember, cold calling and texting is going to require some sort of skip tracing. If you go to smszach.com, it will accomplish both those. Just check it out. You get a lot of free resources there, and it's the best deal we use in our company, and we want to share it with you. So smszach.com, you get the discount code, and anything you're struggling with that, we're happy to help you with it because we use it in our business. Now, last but not least, mail still works very well with vacant land. I wouldn't start out with mail, but if you have an established system and you've set up some income and you want to set up another marketing channel, go ahead and add mail to it. Test it out in smaller batches and get it going. There's a million different ways. Go to openletter.com. They've got a million different variations. We created a postcard in there that we use, offerpostcard.com. But as I said, I would go to cold calling first and texting. And then if you have the ability to add direct mail in there, it's like the 1, 2, 3 punch. Hands down, those are the channels I would work. Let me see what else. I'm almost done here, guys. Put in your questions. Let's get on the questions. Hey, Rick. Hey, Zach. How do I comp land? Dude, comping land is the easiest thing you'll ever do in your life. So listrei.com makes it straightforward. You can also use the tax records, and they do land valuations based on taxes. It's pretty consistent and accurate, and you can figure it out. Remember, I always offer pretty low offers initially when I do land, so I'm never overly worried about it. Because if you know your buyer will pay 50 grand for it and you're making an offer of 20, you can go up to 40 if you want. Go up to 45 if you want. If you're assigned the contract, you're making 5 grand. If I help you make your first 5 grand, go for it. If that's what it's going to take to get your first deal done, do it. That's the beauty of vacant land, guys. There's so many ways to do it. So, and then let's work towards the end here. Find your first buyers. Finding your first buyers. Once again, you're going to go to listrei.com and you're going to look for people buying vacant land. Our target buyer is going to be someone either wants to build their own house on it. They will pay you tippy top dollar, or you're going to find a spec investor. That's an investor who does nothing but build spec homes with his own money or bank money, and then they wait to see what happens. Guys, we are not speculators or wholesalers. Huge difference. Speculators wait and gamble to see what the market's going to do. Wholesalers take money today. Huge difference. Don't ever become a spec, because you are not in control there. The market is. The one you never want to sell to are developers. They're a pain in the butt. The big giant like Holiday, who are the other big ones? Pulte, stuff like that. Don't ever do business with them, because they're going to give you a contract and they're going to drag it on, and they're going to give you options, and they're going to try to make you pay all the closing costs. I don't want you to do that. Plus, they don't like assignment agreements anymore. They used to, and they don't like them as much anymore. So talking to vacant land sellers, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, because you talk to them like you normally do. It's just a faster communication, and it comes down to what they'll take and what you'll offer. And you're not talking about the windows, the white picket fence, or anything like that. We've already talked about virtual wholesaling. Vacant land, it works really well. Any type of familiarity you have in another market. So say you're doing wholesaling houses in Texas and you live in another state, guys, just add land to the repertoire. You just got to find the right list. It's pretty much the exact same process. It's just simpler. So I would just complement your flipping business by adding vacant land if you're just doing houses. Because remember, one of my biggest regrets is I didn't do vacant land in the beginning. I didn't know. I just assumed it was a waste of time. But keep in mind, when I started, a lot of lots around me are only worth $2,000 or $3,000. So I have to buy it at $1,000 and then sell it for $2,000. It just seemed like a lot of work. Now, a lot of these lots are $100,000 to $300,000. So why did I do it at $1,000 if there were three? I could have just done 40 lots and done the same amount of work. So how to find vacant land buyers. Once again, I know I'm beating this to death. listrei.com is a wonderful place. The other place I would do is I like to pull realtors that have spec investors that like to buy this type of land, because they'll buy 4, 5, 6, and they will pull up in a MLS report. If you don't know how to do that, I advise you to work with a local realtor that can help you pull that stuff. A lot of my buyers for land, once they buy one from me, they're like, call me anytime you get this in this area. And it's pretty much done. I like to try to involve the realtor, because they're going to cut the crap out of me. And, they make a small fee, but it's well worth it to me, because it saves me a ton of time. So this brings us to when you sell your vacant land deals. Guys, when you sell it, it's the exact same process. So remember, if you're doing this under wholesaling, you are selling the contract. So what you want to do is get the word out to your list. However you want to do it, you can use social media the exact same way you do a regular house. You're going to do a vacant land, but it should go much, much faster. What are the qualifications? Either they just pay cash, or if you want to offer financing because you got the lot cheap, I'll cover that in a creative financing video. But the sky's the limit. Like if you buy a lot for $1,000 and you want to do a creative financing deal for $5,000, have them leave you $3,000 down and finance to $2,000 at a really high rate. I mean, that's money making money, and it never ends. So Okay. Sorry about that. Little technical error. So let's dive in. Hold on. Let me get this off of here. Let's dive in. Do me a favor, guys. If you're new to this channel and you're like, what the heck is this guy talking about vacant land? This channel was created by myself and my son, Zach. And all we do is talk about wholesaling. And we're tired of gurus charging everybody through the nose for what I think is a very simple process, just like learning your ABCs. And so our goal with this channel is the Flip with Trick channel is to teach you how to be a successful wholesaler, make six figures without paying the ginormous price tag of a newfound seller. I'm sorry, a newfound guru, which feels like a seller because they're trying to sell you stuff, and show you how this is done. In return, we build a massive community of like-minded individuals that all have the same common goal, and they're just tired of being hit over the head, and they just want to learn how to wholesale so they can free up time for their family and all their loved ones. And that's all I'm trying to do. Those guys, everybody knows my story. I jumped from a corporate job and got into this 19 years ago. It changed my life. I get to do what I want when I want. I have two wonderful children. One of my sons, Zach, which you all know, he spends a lot of time on the channel. He's excitement. He has the same enthusiasm, probably more than me. And he loves to connect with people. And he came to me this idea, let's share it all for free. So I've sold courses in the past, but all my courses were direct marketing courses that taught a particular niche. And I didn't want to charge people $5,000 and $10,000. Now I've got people I've taught all over the country charging $10,000, $20,000, and they're just full-time coaches. They're not investors. So the name of the game is to share as much information as possible. So this is a mastermind. It's live. Whatever questions you ask, I will thoroughly try to go through and answer them all. And there is no bad question, only the question you don't ask. So you guys have hit that subscribe button. Let's jump in. And okay. Okay, I'm going to try to take them in order here. So I love people who take action. So awesome, Taylor. Thank you for all the information. Awesome. Samuel, what's up? Samuel's in Rochester, New York. Awesome to hear from you. Don says, let's go. Okay. Okay. Sometimes these things don't always correct. Okay, let's see. I got to take them in order. That's my promise. Kenny says excited about the vacant land. Okay, let's get to the questions. Awesome, Kenny. I appreciate it. Okay, Carrie asks, how do you find investors that were buying the comps when the property appraiser doesn't show who owns the land, only houses? So that sounds like it's going to be specific to your county. So I would need more information to answer that question. In most counties, they have to register the owner of any type of parcel if it's a house or vacant land. If your county doesn't show that, I would call your property appraiser's office and find out how you can find the owner of that property. Obviously, for tax purposes, they always have to know the owner, unless it's a legal situation, meaning someone has to hide their identity, being in law enforcement or a government agency. That's the only time I've seen anyone be able to hide that information. So appreciate it. Edwin, what's up? Edwin's in Odessa, Texas. I think I said that correctly. So you guys are rocking and rolling over there. I know that. Awesome. Daniel says, love your content. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much. Okay. Kara asked, if I know how much the investor is paying for other lands, do I need to know a formula, percentage of value? Or should I just offer it to him and the price he's paying? So here's the beauty of vacant land, Kara. Awesome question. There is no formula. There is no fix and flip in vacant land. The price that your buyer is going to pay, typically they've already priced in the cost to, if you have to clear the land, how the utilities hook up. 9 times out of 10, your buyers know the exact process. I can tell you, I've sold land that I'll be honest with you, I learned from my buyers how much it costs to clear land, what the grading cost, the flood and elevation planes. Guys, don't get that deep into the weeds. You'll find out quickly if the lot doesn't work. So in this case, if they're paying $50,000 for the lots and you're confident they're going to pay that and the comps support it, they're always going to try to get a better deal from you. Just go in below it. So honestly, your worst case scenario, say you pay 40 or 45 for it. He pays you 50 on an assignment. How much do you profit from that, Kara? That's $5K. And honestly, if you do it and you give them that price, go, listen, we got to close it in a week. End of story. Quick title search. It's all done. Now, the only thing I've ever had problems, now this is a Florida problem, okay? You do have to watch for some environmental issues, especially if you get in commercial. It's a much longer play. So we're talking about residential vacant lots for full disclosure here. We have this thing called a gopher tortoise in Florida. And if the lot's discovered to have a gopher tortoise nest, you can't build on it. You actually have to pay to have them relocated. I think you have to wait up to 90 or 180 days, and you have to have it re-inspected, not by a private party, by the government, by some sort of environmental protection agency. So I'm all for protecting nature and doing stuff like that. But there are some environmental stuff. But remember, all this stuff I'm talking about, that's your buyer's problem. You don't even deal with it. Remember, you're just contracting the property. And 9 times out of 10, there is no formula. There is no formula. If they'll pay 50, what's the max you'll pay for it? What's your limit? Now, if I'm broke and I'm trying to pay my rent and I've busted my butt and the most this guy will pay me is the most he'll pay me is $47,000 and you're trying to get 50 and you got to say the least your buyer would take is 45. You got to make a decision. Is it worth the, what I think it's $2 or $3 grand with the difference on there. I don't know about you, but if I'm broke, I'm taking it. So in the beginning, it's okay to take some singles. It's just like a baseball game. You're not going to hit a home run every time. Now, I can tell you stories of lots that have been given to me and I sold them for $50K. So it can work both ways on you. Just understand your situation. You will never go broke taking a profit. So all those investors tell you got to make 20, 30K a pop. I'm just going to tell you, some of the first deals I did, they were ugly, guys. And it's okay because I wanted to prove the theory that I could do it. But I learned the next deal got sharper and sharper. And now my average margin's so disgusting. It's just from experience. I'm really good at what I do and I love what I do and it shows. So awesome question. There is no formula, guys. That's what I love about this. Wow. This is a good one. Did not know that. So tell us what you didn't know. Wow. Okay. So we talked about this earlier. What about virtual wholesaling? Virtual wholesaling is just the art of living in one area and doing it in another area. So a lot of virtual wholesalers, LA, New York, Florida is starting to become one, meaning if you live in these major metropolitan areas, prices have gone up so high and the competition's so stacked, you go to other markets to supposedly think the grass is greener. Now, it's not always greener because you're not the first person with this idea, nor the last. Virtual wholesaling works really well. Say if you grew up in Oklahoma and you moved to Florida and you spent a majority of your life in Oklahoma, you're probably going to know the Oklahoma market better than Florida, or you're going to at least know the streets. Or maybe you have friends and connections. That's what I love when you do like virtual wholesaling. If you can get some help to maybe help you talk with sellers and stuff. So vacant land works the exact same way, guys. It's just markets always change. Remember, when I started in this business, a lot was worth $1,000 to $2,000. Now they're worth $300,000 in my backyard. So I guess I should have bought some, kept some, but remember, that's pure speculation. There is no guarantee it's going to happen. What's the best way to market mail? So if you're talking in general in wholesaling, the old days, I used to do what I call, it was called I used to do a DIY postcard. It was a handwritten postcard.com. Everybody's knocked it off. But here's what I do. Technology is so amazing now. It's cheaper to outsource your direct mail than you doing it on your own. Unless you're going to print under 100 postcards, then maybe it's more cost effective to do it in-house. Now, you can try click to mail. That's through the government. It's fast, it's efficient, but I gotta be honest with you, it ain't cheap. So it's not gonna save you a ton of money. I like to use openlettermarketing.com. Justin and his crew, they're awesome out there. We use them exclusively. Guys, I've tried every printer over 19 years. You name it. Nobody even comes close to these guys. Now, I don't get anything to referring into them. I use them. If you really want to research it, we have a lot of trainings on a postcard we like to use. It's called the offerpostcard.com. Go there. That's actually through Open Letter Marketing, and they're phenomenal. Guys, you're getting mail done at like 40 cents per seller. So it's really cheap. I used to do them all in-house. I spent up to $50,000 on printing machines. Don't get in the printing business. The easiest way is openlettermarketing.com. So there, I said it. Awesome. Okay. So this one says parcel cities are hard to find in some cities. Well, maybe that's good news, because if they're hard for you to find, it's hard for everyone else. So guys, ask better quality questions. There's got to be a way to look up. All property information should be of public record. So sometimes commercial lots, or as I said, if somebody is in a government agency or in law enforcement, that's the only ones in my area where you can't find them. So what's up, Nick? Rick, what about commercially vacant lot? A lot around my area off St. Louis. Awesome. Now, I will tell you, commercial takes more time for the buyer. So the due diligence typically on a commercial lot is going to be 90 days. They're heavy on environmental. They like to drill down, because typically commercial lots, they like to build up. So they want to make sure they have got a good soil residue. So what they'll do is drill down and take a sample of it. And it's costly. It's like $5,000 just to drill down 100. It's like crazy. I just did this on a lot of our own. Now, here's the really neat one. I'm in a building where we have a vacant lot next door. True story, okay? I had the ability to buy this lot. It's in my local market. I know it. I just wasn't, I was so focused on other areas, I just forgot about it. I took it for granted. I drove by the dang thing every day for 3 years. It just sold 9 months ago. It was being used as a parking lot next to the water. The investor picked it up for $500,000. He owned it a year and a half. Now, guys, I'm not telling you to go out and buy and pay cash for it, but the property sold for $3 million a year and a half later. Okay. You do the math on what the take home pay on that. This thing was right under my nose for years and I missed it. So I want you to, Nick, when you see this stuff, look into it. Look into it. The worst someone's going to do is tell you no. The only difference in a commercial vacant lot is it usually has another zero behind it. So you would be surprised how many people overlook it because they think, I'm just not that sophisticated. Worst case scenario, bring in a partner, have somebody help you out. So I missed a huge opportunity, and I've recommitted an entire department to my company to make sure I don't miss any more. So I love commercial lots. I think you're onto it. When they're vacant, you have a lot more options. And to be honest with you, a lot of sellers will do a very creative deal with you because 9 times out of 10, the lot's sitting there and they have a high tax base on it and they might just want to get rid of it. But you have to go through a lot more to get a really good deal. So it's a good observation. Okay, let's see here. Here asks, will a mortgage lender ever go down on a payoff price if you call them before a foreclosure? The servicer is Countrywide. And the trustee is a New York Bank of Mellon. In this market, highly unlikely. So the only way the bank's ever going to take a discount on a recorded mortgage on the property is you have to go through the formal process of what we call a short sale. And short sales take time, a minimum of 90 to 180 days. I spent 4 years of my life doing nothing but short sales on the market, hit the crapper, and I know all about this. Remember, the banks don't own the mortgage. They just service it. So they're going to manipulate it to get the max amount of fees. So it's highly unlikely they're going to take a discount. I would not spend a lot of effort on that. So I'm just telling you the truth. Telling you like it is. What's up, June? How you doing? I appreciate the shout out. Ooh, and the hearts. That's awesome. Okay. So Quentin asks, are these vacant buildable lots in neighborhoods? Yeah, those are going to be called infill lots. So that happens when one guy starts to build a lot and then someone goes, hey, I like that. And another one starts to build a lot. And those are infill lots. Those are personal people usually finding a contractor and building a house. The ones I stay away from are when like the Pulte, Holiday Builders, there's a million names out there. The big corporations that come in and they buy they'll buy 4 or 5 blocks and they do a mega development. Don't even bother with us. That's a waste of your time. So yes, the answer to that. I don't want to buy a lot in the middle of a field where nobody else has built because you're going to be waiting for the next 10 years. Ask me how I know this. It's just true, guys. Gary asks, is a corner lot facing a major road a lower value land? The tax assessor says 80K and comps aren't a corner lot, but face major road or 50K. So remember, tax assessors has one purpose. They're to assess taxes fairly and equally across the board. It has no bearing on what the actual value of the property is. So in that case, common sense comes in here. Whenever I have a house that's facing like a highway where like we have I-95 here in the Turnpike, it gets a discount. Nobody wants to hear the noise. Nobody wants to see it. A lot of times we just bought, we had a lot and it faced one of those utility, where they have all the like buzz wire, the transformers and stuff. It's ugly. It makes a lot of sound. It took a massive discount. That's actually why we bought it, because they couldn't sell it. Now, housing always has a price. There is a certain number somebody will pay to get on a house. And they understand if they're taking a 30%, if they're getting it 30% cheaper, they're usually giving up something. So yeah, the tax assessor, so you guys understand, it's just to assess taxes fairly. It is, so they try to use like a derivative. I'm not good with the math, but they try to use an algorithm that's consistent with the sale prices of the houses in the area. So I use it as a fail safe, but I never use it as a final number. So they asked, dumb question. There's no dumb question. So, but is infill land the same as a residential land? Yeah, it is. Infill is, it's kind of like a misleading word, and I never used it, but it's the buzzword. That's if you have, say, 2 or 3 houses built, and then there's one vacant field, and then there's another house. Unless that property is designated for drainage for the community or something like that, it's just a vacant lot. Most people want to buy that house. You'll find out a lot of people want to buy it, but nobody will take the effort to call the owner of the property to see if they're interested in selling it. And that's where you come in. So yes, you are correct on that. So let's see. Okay, let me get caught up and get behind here. Awesome question here. Steve asks, hey, Rick, how would you pay the agent in that deal? So land is a little bit different. A lot of agents in our area, under normal market circumstances, they charge up to 10% to do land. Because remember, back in the day when land was selling for $3,000, they would get a $300 commission check. It wasn't a lot of money. Now, if a lot's selling for $300,000, then you can go down to the 3 to 6% range. But if an agent brings it to you, you've just got to make sure they're rewarded. That's all I can tell you. Everything's negotiable, but don't try to give them like 1% if they gave you a smoking deal on the deal. So just ask them what they want, see if it aligns with your numbers. And if you're making money, go forward and do it, because if the agent brought you the deal and you would have never known it without him, you got to look at it. If he didn't bring me the deal, I'd get a goose egg. So am I willing to give him $2,000 or $3,000? I don't know what the number is. 10% is the max. 3% is going to be the minimum. Everything's negotiable from there. I've gone from I've done a simple take someone to lunch as a thank you. They're giving someone over $20,000. So it's all negotiable. Let them do the workflow. If they're going to do the work for you and bring you someone that's ready to sell for a great deal, then knock it out of the park. I'm going to butcher your first name if I say it. So, Cezira. Tell me how to pronounce that. I'm actually going to have to put you on live to do that. I love that name, by the way. On PropStream, do they show vacant land listings? So a property can be designated vacant lot is how it's going to be. So vacant listings, once it's on my MLS, you probably want nothing to do with it because now you got to go through an agent. They're looking for a top offer. I don't waste my time on those types of deals. So I'm looking for off-market vacant land. That's the key is what you want to find. Now, listrei.com will bring you through to PropStream, the best way to do it. Keep in mind, you can go through your county records and they keep very, very accurate records for all the vacant land in your property. That's free information, but it's usually disorganized how they're going to give it to you. That's why I like using PropStream to sort out that information. So awesome. Catherine, hi Rick. Thanks for all the info. Up here in St. Johns County, Jacksonville, awesome market. Eager to start. Besides driving for $1, is real estate investing the best? Is REI the best place to look? I'm not sure what we're asking there. So driving for $1 is one of the best places to start. Use your listrei.com to pull your motivated sellers in your area. Look for high equity owners. They have a vacant property list. Now, a vacant property list is not vacant land. Don't mix the two up. And anytime you can go get an off-market list, that's a tax delinquency list, code violation list, any type of utility shutoff list, you'll have a huge upper advantage. But in the beginning, I did a lot of driving for $1. And matter of fact, I used to go knock on doors. I was highly aggressive. In today's age, I'd probably advise against that. I would switch to cold calling if that's how you want to choose your aggression on it. So let me see. I think, okay. Hopefully, Catherine, you're getting started. The idea is get as much marketing activity as humanly possible. The more marketing activity you have, the better you're going to do. So just bury yourself into it, get excited, and flip as many stones as you humanly possibly can. That's the key, because when you're starting a car from zero and you're trying to get up to 100 miles an hour, it takes a lot of energy to turn those wheels, and turning your wheels is the marketing and the sales part of what you do. So awesome. Congratulations. Jacksonville's got some really cool properties too. Kara, I called the Sarasota property appraiser and they said the only time I can find the name who bought the comp is if I find the parcel number, but I can't find that because the addresses don't pull up that information. So Kara, do this. Just use PropStream, go through listrei.com and it will pull this data for you, because your county's trying to pull it by parcel and you're going to pull your hair out trying to get that information. So this is the reason they've invented PropStream. To be honest, it's going to save you a lot of time. It's like having your own employee built in. That's what I would do. So let me know if that works out. Okay, let's see here. Get some new ones. What's up, Kenny? Do you suggest to contract longer for inspections option time on land versus houses to yield more time to cultivate your buyer? Is it unreasonable to request 120, 180 days? In this market, yes, it's unreasonable. You're going to have a tough time getting a good price at that number. And remember, when you're buying vacant land, you're reverse engineering it. You already know what your buyers are going to pay. So there's no difference in what we do is if you walk into a pawn shop and you present them a gold chain. If the gold chain's worth $5,000 and you're offering it to them for $3,500, they're going to take it 9 times out of 10. You're doing the exact same thing. So honestly, most land, if you can't get it done in 30 days, it means you got the wrong price. The only reason you get the wrong price is because you didn't know what your buyers are going to pay for it. So learn from that and find what your buyers will pay for. All markets, especially on vacant land, especially in today's market, they have a pretty tight range. So you got to break it down apples to apples. If you're selling quarter acre lots, make sure you're pricing out quarter acre. If you're selling half acre, if you're selling 3/4, a full acre, If you're selling like 5 acres, it's all price. So unless you miss something in doing your due diligence, to be honest with you, unless it's a really, now on commercial, yeah, you need that kind of time. The typical commercial deal takes 90 to 120 days. So it's not uncommon to get 180 days on a commercial, but on a single family residential lot, 30 days is the most you should take. So maybe put in 60, but like if you ask any more, they're gonna be like, I don't understand why you can't close on this. And you might risk not getting a good deal. So I would love to get you as much time as possible, but my experience tells me asking that kind of time, you're probably going to turn them off and they're going to go to someone else. So try to lock it down to 30 days, Ken, and then you could basically build in a one-time option to extend to 30 days. Most people in vacant land don't care because they're not living in it, but you don't want them to change their mind on you either. So you got to get them to the closing table. Let's see here. What's up, Rachel? Zach mentioned in the video some services for making calls with, I didn't catch it and I can't find it. Could you let me know what to look for? In a video, some services for making calls. I assume you're talking about cold calls. I will pass this along because I don't know exactly what he says. So you guys know what Zach does Thursdays. So I'm Zach's dad, Rick. And so we swap days. So I will make sure if you tune in tomorrow, Zach will be on here at 5 p.m. Eastern time, and he'll be on for an hour. And I believe he's doing an open forum, answering as many questions as humanly possible. So we've had a super, super busy week here. Remember, we're full-time investors. We're not coaches. So we scale our investing business and we scale being able to connect with people just like you. So he will be on here Friday. So we had some business we had to swap. So I'm covering it. So hopefully, but remember guys, ask anything you want. So I will remind him. I'm going to make a note now. Awesome. Okay. What's the best market for your first deal? You ready? You might want to write this one down. It's the market you started. So just get started. I always recommend within your backyard, within a reasonable driving period, usually like an hour. I guess you can extend out to 2 hours if you're in like a really populated area. But really, whatever market you get started in and get momentum, that's the best one. Lewis, what's up? Can I buy vacant land with other people's money and build a multifamily with OPM, which I assume you mean other people's money as well, as separate investor? Thanks. Lewis, anything's possible in wholesaling. Absolutely. When you say other people's money, it is true. You can do anything you want in real estate without using your own money or your own credit. The question is, have you set up those relationships? Do you know how to talk to them? Remember, when we talk wholesaling, our whole job, our whole mission in wholesaling is to generate profits fast and limit our risk. Okay. When you start using other people's money, then that's longer term strategies and you want to be equipped for it. The best way to be equipped with it is stack some of your cash first by wholesaling using assignment contracts. And then you can partner up with people. How I always track the people with other people's money when I got past my initial wholesaling was I had to show some skin in the game. So say somebody wants to give you $100,000, a lot of them like to see you put 5 or 10 grand in to know that you're completely committed because, money talks and BS walks, it works in that. So a lot of times when you do that first private money deal, which I love doing, but don't start off that. Generate your own cash through wholesaling and then go out and seek these partners. And the really cool thing is when you get really good at wholesaling, they'll seek you out. So many of you guys think you got to go out and chase it. I have never gone on a campaign to raise private money. I have people call me on a weekly basis. Hey, Rick, I want to do this or do that. I choose who I want to work with. And I only choose people that stay out of my business. I give them reports and I make sure they get the return and their money's put first priority. But I never go out. You'll never see me pitch on social media or anything like that, raising money. Number one, it's illegal. Number two, you got to register with the SEC. And number three, I don't need a boss. I don't want one. I work my butt off, and that's how I want to do it. So concentrate on wholesaling first, Lewis, and the OPM will follow. So good question, though. I like your thinking, though. Anything's possible in wholesaling. What's up, Greg? Hey, Rick. Thank you for the info. How long are you setting feasibility studies? So listen, a feasibility study is going to be more geared towards like a commercial lot, or if you have like a waterfront lot where they got to figure out feasibility studies with the mangroves and dock and shorelines and building seawalls, then your market will dictate that. So it's a very specific question. I would have to actually know the property in the neighborhood to figure that out. But most residential vacant lots that don't have a giant environmental concern, meaning they're next to like sensitive wetlands or anything like that, or like oceanfront or riverfront. 30 days, guys. That's the most it should take, because there's no bank involved. There's no inspections. Yes, there can be feasibility studies, environmental concerns, but for the most part, that's going to be geared towards commercial or specialty properties. So Dynamic asks, how do you comp vacant lots? Just use the data, guys. ListREI.com, which is going to bring you through PropStream, pretty accurate. And I like to use the tax assessors, your property appraiser's office. They'll do an assessment on the lot. It'll give you a kind of a rough idea what it's worth. And using that and ListREI.com will give you that range, and it should make you very comfortable, especially in today's market. The comps are pretty tight, guys. They're not all over the board. If lots are selling for 50 grand in your area and you pick it up at 40, you can expect to sell it at 50 or below. The only way you would get more than 50 is if you offer some sort of seller financing, which goes back to Lewis's great question. That's a way to use other people's money and make money without bringing in an investor. So really good. Okay, guys, we're in the bonus round here. I'll take as many questions in the next 5 minutes, and we're going to wrap things up. Smooth Criminal. So I appreciate you tuning in. This guy takes advantage of their mastermind, because every week I see him on here. So do you have an LLC or an SCorp? And how do you pay yourself from those? So I have both. I have listen, guys, I've been doing this 19 years. So every time I buy a property to keep, it gets its own LLC, because I don't want to commingle anything, and I keep everything separate. Do I have an SCorp? So you can have an SCorp or a SCorp. This gets complicated. So I don't want to I'm not giving out tax advice. So really, until you get very advanced, I would not worry about the strategy. You can work under an LLC. Remember, all your contracts are assignable. So even if I contract a price under Rick Ginn, as long as the property is assignable, I could throw it in an LLC the day before a closing or the day of the closing. It's no big deal. So you got to get good tax advice, because it depends on how you do it. If you have an LLC, it basically passes through your individual tax. If you have a corporation, depending on the type, if you have a SCorp, it runs as a formal corporation, and you have to pay yourself a salary, and then you can do distributions from there. But I'm not here to give you tax advice. So focus on the marketing and the sales part. So going to ask, hey, is a list of 1 to 3K high equity vacant properties too small to get a deal? So guys, I'm going to be honest with you. There's no such thing as a high equity. Nobody finances vacant land deals. So they're all high equity. So there's no high equity filter when you do vacant land. And I want you to understand that. Just look for vacant land lots. Look for the designation vacant land. Now, remember, vacant land and vacant properties, two different worlds. One are vacant houses. One's just raw land. So establish that. You can do that in listrei.com or your local property your property appraiser site. Here's one. Let's see it here. Jonathan says, I always see dead animals rotting away next to land being cleared on the road being squished by tires. Okay. Irrelevant. Guys, use your time wisely on here, because questions like that don't help anyone. So interesting. Okay, George got a probate question. If there are two PRs on a probate, do you mail to both? If for all four, just trying to figure it out how to separate the Google Sheets for different months for different counties. So having two PRs is rare. So the thing PR stands for personal representative, also called executor, depending on what state and what county you're in. So now when I first started doing probates, I would mail to the PR always, and then I'd mail to the heirs. And after 4 years of trial and error, I just gave up in the heirs because in the end, they drove me nuts. I mean, they literally called for everything and they had no power to do anything. So I would mail to, if it's two PRs, it's rare. I just mail to both, or I would label the letter to both of them, especially if they're the same address. A way to cover your butt when you're unsure of who to mail to. Sometimes you can mail to both PRs and put the property address that the deceased owned, and they always get it. So what you can do is, well, here's why I always mail to the PR. Having two PRs is rare, so I probably just mail to both, especially if they're different addresses. But what we did, instead of mailing to the heirs, we would label on the front letter to the estate of John Doe and mail it to the deceased property's address. Somebody always picks up a mail at a probate house, and that's kind of what you call your catch-all. So you'd have in your email. Good question. Let's see here. Lulash, should we talk to the county of utilities to make sure it has water, power, able to be able to build on for info land, or is it being a dead horse since it's a neighborhood? So you got to kind of bring in comments. I don't want you to do all that due diligence. We are not in that business. You will find out quickly by reverse engineering. Maybe you make one phone call, but just check around your neighbors. Look for utility poles. Look for boxes. We have FP&L here locally, but like whatever your power company is, and just try to figure out. Most of the lots are either, an infill lot typically has the infrastructure already set up in it, meaning water, sewer, and electric. If it's not there, it takes a really long time to bring in, which means it's going to take you longer to sell. So usually one owner will go ahead and do all that work for you, and you just got to kind of do some intel to find out. If you see them building over there, just ask. And if you see lots transacting all the time and homes are going up and lights are on and water's running, then the question's answered for you. Awesome. George says, do you guys use REI Sift? So do you like it? What do you integrate with it? Can you run this by Zach if he can teach the? So I'm familiar with REI Sift. The challenge with REI Sift, listen, it's a good piece of technology, but you need a ton of data. So I find most people in wholesaling, they complicate this business too much. So if you have to start stacking your lists, it gets complicated quick. In my area, we run out of people to target and mail to. So stacking is not a really great option because, so stacking is the art is, okay, if they're on a tax delinquency list and they're on a code violation list, they're going to have a higher priority. Well, that's great. My area is not big enough to make that work. So list stacking and like REI Sift's awesome for like metropolitan areas. And it's that. But guys, I mean, the bill starts to add up. So REI Sift's brilliant. I just don't go that deep into the woods because my areas aren't that big. So if you're in a major metropolitan area, I love data, but I don't want you to spend thousands and thousands of dollars if you're just trying to get your first deal. Driving for dollars, doing basic off-market list is the best way to get started. And then you can educate if you want to spend more money on that stuff. So good question. Okay, guys, I'm going to take the last questions here. We're going to wrap it up. Nick's to follow up on how to pay the agent question, how we specifically pay the agent. Would you give them a percentage? Actually, on paper, worked in the contracts. Yeah. So a good agent wants everything in writing to protect their interests. So you can't blame them for it. So look at your profit spread, see how much work they did. If they made it super simple, they brought you a highly motivated piece of property to sell you. If it's a house, the standard's already written for it. But if it's a vacant land, it's kind of wide open. So it just depends on if they have a pre-established agreement with the seller and the seller, because remember, it always comes out of the seller's pocket in the end. So if they're selling a lot for $100,000 and there's a 3% commission, the seller's going to get $97,000. So just ask them, what's your seller expecting? And just listen, they want to get the deal done, but they want to get paid for it too. So always put yourself in the eyes of the agent and make sure they're taken care of. So yes, put it in writing. You can do it in a percentage or you can do it in a flat fee. So if you say, listen, I'm going to pay you $5,000, it's $5,000. If they're buying it for say 50,000 and it's 5%, it's 2,500. However you want to do it. Anywhere typically, as I told you, between 3 and 10%. 10% would be crazy. 10% is usually reserved for properties like 10 grand and below, at least in my area. So, okay, awesome. I have clarification. Zarish, Zaria. Hopefully I got that right. Tune in next Friday and find out if we got that right. So, Smooth Criminal asks, have you gotten in trouble or lost a deal on a virtual deal when a buyer went to view a property? Yeah, like this is when you do virtual, you don't have nearly as much control, guys. You are depending on someone sometimes 1,000+ miles away, and they'll go by and look at the property, and they'll sometimes talk to the seller, and they'll kill the deal. So that's the risk of virtual. That's why I like you having a local connection to make it work. So usually in virtual markets, you have a much higher failure rate, and I hate that part of virtual marketing because I'm not here to get anybody hurt. I don't want contracts to fall out. Sometimes contracts have to fall out. So John says, are you serious? Yeah. Hey, John, I went to a place pre-COVID. The guy was trying to charge newbies $100,000 for the one-on-one experience. And I kid you not, 3 people paid for it. 100,000. Now, when you charge $100,000, you have to travel all around the world because if I paid you $100,000, you need to come and live in my house with me. Like, guys, remember the fee you pay for a coaching course. I don't care if it's a cooking class or a flipping class. It doesn't mean they're qualified. So you've got to say, listen, show me the last 5 deals you did. Show me how long you've been doing this. Show me your most successful. Show me your portfolio, and show me how many deals you've done total if you can prove it. And you will find out, you watch how they squirm away from you when they do it. I find the higher the fee they charge, the more they try to control you. And I'm not going to say that for everyone, but there's a lot of $5,000 and $10,000 courses, especially masterminds. I don't know, guys. I did an entire video. You want to search for it on our YouTube channel, Flip with Rick. I don't know if Zach released it yet, on how to vet a mastermind. So it's not about how much you pay them, guys. It's never about how much you pay them. A lot of times you guys think you pay $5,000 and you're going to get the best education in your life. And what do? They put you on a boat, they take you to a fancy dinner or lunch, and they serve you a bunch of alcohol. You can do that on your own. You don't need no course to do that. We all do that on our own. So why am I going to pay $5,000 for you to take me on a boat, go drink alcohol? It's because they're trying to kill the time and give you a really positive experience. Here's what to do when you go to Mastermind, just like this, one-on-one, or have a group of people and get information, nothing else. Don't get food, don't get boat rides, don't get plane rides. Get down, get the business, and the more simpler the room, the more clarity you'll have in getting the information you want. So, yeah, guys, I'm telling you, you can pay. We're ending it here. You can pay $100K. I can tell you right now that $100K that the gentleman was offering was a gentleman. Of course, it was a guy. He has to travel all around the world to avoid the confrontation because $100K is a lot. And by the way, it was only good for 1 year of mentoring. And it was like, I think it was weekly. And then he would meet him to like look at a property. Now it was for small commercial, but I'm not going to go any further because I'll probably get in trouble on it. But I got kicked out of that room because I thought it was ridiculous. And his experience was actually less than mine. So sometimes I find people like that, they sell confidence so high that you buy into the confidence, but you don't understand the substance of what they're offering. So guys, not all coaches are bad. There's some really high quality ones out there. I'm just saying, make sure you got somebody that's got a functional operational business that does very, very well. And you want to walk a mile in their shoes. If you don't want to walk on a mile in their shoes, do not step in their shoes because it's going to stink. So guys, listen, Zach's usually here Thursday. He'll be here tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern. I believe he's having an open forum. It's a mastermind. Bring your questions. Everybody was on here. Jump on tomorrow. I might jump in and let's get as much information traded as possible to make you guys better investors. Do me a favor, guys, hit that subscribe button, share this video, hit the like button. And the goal here is to give you as much high quality information for free of the highest quality about wholesaling to create a like-minded community so we can grow. How do I grow? You keep sharing this, you keep liking it. Let everybody what we're knowing. Let everybody know what we're doing. I'm not charging for any of my services. We are radically going against the coaching community and they don't like it. So I know we're doing something right. And me and Zach have a mission to get it done. And I told Zach I would build up as many viewers as we can tomorrow. So do me a favor, hop on tomorrow, 5 o'clock, and let's open this thing up and get as much content we can. Don't worry, if you don't see it live, it'll be recorded. You can access the information. We post a video every day, and I share my 19 years experience. Zach started at 17. You have no excuse why you can't be successful in wholesaling. Guys, I will see you next Friday. I will actually probably be here tomorrow with Zach, 5 p.m. Eastern time. I appreciate your time. Go out and get a deals, get that marketing going, and don't forget to do vacant land. Love you guys. I'll see you in the next live. Thanks, guys.